Всем привет, с вами мы все продолжаем эту игру. Дальше будем смотреть ее.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Ясно. Так, выходим отсюда.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Так, а куда же дальше идти нам? Возможно, назад. Бля, там же дверь была, да? Какая-то. Хотя ее нету. Куда он-то зашел? А нету той картины, в которой он зашел. Наподобие двери. Значит, нам здесь делать нехер. Куда-то нам надо... А, вот она. Или как он? Он ее просто открыл. Вот она, эта дверь. Как бы. Погоди, а может быть... Сейчас. Сделаем так. А, нет, это не берется. Короче, понятно. Не взаимодействуется. Я думал, можешь альбом этот прочитать обратно и попытаться там дверь открытую сделать. Но нет. Вот она дверь, а ни хрена от нее толку никакого. Ручка не работает. Ладно. Пойдем дальше. Туда мы не попадем. Так, окей, пойдем сюда.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Ясно.
Everyone always told me to stay out of
тут.
Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Ясно. Прикольно, чё. Так, здесь закрыто. То есть оборвано он. Дальше не пройти. Значит, нам надо вот в эту сторону идти. Прикольная комната. В виде яхты. Так, открываем. Залазим. Так, сохранение пошло. Супер. Так.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Понятно. Кальянчик. Здесь что? Ага, дверь тоже какая-то. А что за дверь? А, другую часть, да? Ага. Это другую часть. Хорошо, другую часть дома. Ну, слушай, ну у него неплохо, неплохо. Даже очень шикарно. Еще один. Фотки опять, что ли? Да нет.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse.
Oh.
Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Ага, работа.
He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
Что такое? Что случилось, ну? Я не говорил, что там завису что-то. Не сломался. Алло. Затихло все. Че, руку надо отпилить? Что делать? Ничего не происходит. Я ничего не понял. Ау, что такое?
Wanda.
Двигать надо, ёпти. Работа дальше пошла. Да? Ёй, тебя пало.
I asked him to describe it.
Я маленький человечек.
He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about.
Так, там тупик. Так.
Then something moved.
Ага. Понятно.
Bats.
Да, блин, дай рыбу. Так.
And toads.
Ага, понял. Какие-то чудовища поперли. Так. Вот это у него фантазия, бляха. Дай рыбу.
And things that have not names.
Так. Ясно.
He knew it was all in his head.
И чё? Понял.
But he took it very seriously.
Так. Огонь сделал.
I had hoped he'd find himself.
Так, это тупик. Да, что-то сюда надо идти.
But he found something more.
Ага. Ясно.
I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery.
Так. Поднимаемся сюда.
I spoke with his boss.
Ага.
But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
Так. Далее.
Like a whole new Lewis.
Хм.
So I let him go on.
Ага. Так, вижу что-то. Из какой-то пещеры вылазим, да?
I even encouraged him.
Ага.
It seemed very promising at first.
Собака.
He told me he'd made a new friend.
Не знаю, песик кусается, не кусается, не знаю. Бежим сюда.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Да погоди ты. Дай. Ага.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick.
Кто такие?
Then he made musicians.
Обалдеть. Народу тут. Всех за мной идут.
And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band.
И вроде меня не трогают.
And he was always humming something.
Просто писят. Да ё-моё. Я сбудился, погоди.
Every day his imagination grew stronger.
Не засмотрелся. Я типа король, да?
He no longer spoke at the cannery.
Ага. Хера тут народу.
But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination.
Так,
So
сюда.
he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It
Так.
became a game for him.
Ну, поплыли.
He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on.
Хм.
New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on.
А?
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Принцесса.
handsome queen.
Что это такое?
The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows.
Бля, радугу сломал.
He followed the sound of her
Так. Давай сюда.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Так.
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Капец. Короче, кончай.
But he was so proud of having created it.
Прикольно сделано, слушай. Рабюха. Так. Ага. Королевство,
In
ёпта.
his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
Вот это у него, блядь, от игры. Фантазия.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
О, бляха. Что это за место? Прикольно.
He began to forget the world we know.
Получается, игровой мир, да. Вместо обычного.
I think it
понятно.
pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
А вот здесь.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Эл. Ну и ладно. Так. Ясно.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Ё-моё, нихера у них королевство здесь. Сейчас. Прикольно, чё.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown.
О, принцесса.
There was only one thing left to do. bend down his head.
Окей. Принцесса.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool.
История
I wish you could have
закончилась.
met him.
Да. Так, сохранение сработало. Здесь больше делать нечего, мы здесь все узнали, всю историю.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
Здесь кто у нас?
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Так, сзади играем. Что ли? Темно что-то в доме.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles.
Что можем взять?
When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Ну да,
The thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
Понятно. Вот такая вот тема.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Тут койка. Кто в библиотеке спал, ё-моё? Интересно мне знать. Ладно, здесь мы все смотрели. Давай сюда.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
Понятно.
But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Обалдеть.
I got turned around.
Туманно стал.
I started seeing things I'd forgotten had ever existed.
Я вообще ни хера не вижу. Так, ага.
But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me.
Все равно нашли мы.
Or maybe I came back to them.
Давай, заходим.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car, and I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Что это, конец? Финал? Что ли? Походу, да. Это финал. Всех он показывает. Это разработчики, что ли? Ха. А вот это... Вот. Вот, мы не нашли же. Ну, не знаю, наверное, все-таки финал, походу. Сохранение пошло. Сколько это будет идти? Заставка это. Ну, это походу финал. Барбара. конечно, финал. Все, конец, да. Это финал. На этом все. Всем пока. Классная была игруха, интересная. Да, финал. Все.